everybody, Jen from Scrapping Under the Influence. I am here with a new project for Doodlebug's design team. So this is with their brand new Gingerbread Kisses collection. So what I have done is a little waterfall folio December daily, or a cheater December daily. Very simple December daily. On the front, I've taken one of the images from the Advent calendar cut apart page and made that into a little shaker up here on the front with one of the odds and ends. I added a couple of pieces from the Chit Chat. This overall is 4.5 by 9.5 and 1.5 inches high. It's meant to sit up like this so you can display it. And when you open it up, it folds open like so. You've got space for pictures here and here. And then it opens up this way and this way. And I've taken those little date pieces from that Advent calendar cut apart to use to make my pages for my December daily. So this is very simple. It would be photos only because I'm terrible at journaling because my handwriting, I hate my handwriting. So typically I don't like to journal on things unless I can like type it and print it or whatever. So this would be pictures only. It is matted in such a way that you'll be able to slide the pictures up underneath the numbers. Do pictures front and back. You could journal on the back, however you wanted to do it. This is matted mostly, the flips for the waterfalls are matted with the 6x6 pad for the most part. There's a couple of places where I've used the full-size 12x12 sheets, but most of it is the 6x6 pad. So we've got 16, 17, 18 here. You've got space here to add journaling cards or whatever. And then 21, 22, 23, and 24. So super easy. This will go together in about half hour, 45 minutes maybe. Not a hard project at all, and would be a good, simple way to have kind of a no-stress way to record all those little activities that you only do in December. So, tutorial starts now. Thanks for watching. All right, so we're going to start with the base. So I have two pieces of cardstock that are 9.5 inches high. One is 11 1/4, one of them is 11. Both of these are going to be scored the same. So we're going to score at 4.5. 5 1/4, 9 3/4, and there we go. Okay, so on this one we're going to go 4.5, 5 1/4, 9 3/4, and then we've got that piece. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this end. So this is the bigger piece. This is the 11 1/4 inch piece. I'm going to fold and burnish that 1.5 inch end piece. Okay. And then on this one, I'm going to fold and burnish the 1 inch end piece, because this is where we're going to attach the two base pieces together. Okay. So what I want is for it to attach like this. So what I'm going to do, actually I think I am going to use glue on this. I was thinking I was going to use score tape, but I don't think so. Okay, so I'm going to lay this one with my folded piece facing up. I'm going to line it up so that when I put the glue on this, I can just fold it over and down. Okay, And I'm going to use the glue simply so that if we need to move it around or adjust it or anything, we'll have a minute or so to do that before the glue sets. Okay, so get glue all over that section. And just pick that up and tap those ends together, or that side together, so make sure we're lined up height-wise. And then I'm just going to fold this over and burnish it down. Wipe up any extra glue that happens to squeeze out, because there probably will be some. Here, do the same thing. Okay, so there's our base. And then we can go ahead and fold in our other pieces. Okay. Okay, there's our base. And I realize this is still kind of flimsy at this point. By the time we mat this and add our waterfalls inside, it's going to stiffen that up and it will be more than sturdy enough. So I'm going to set that aside for right now. You're going to want 24 pieces that are 4 by 6.5. Okay, so I've got 20 here. I'm going to show you how I cut mine so that I get 4 of them out of one piece. Okay, so I am going to cut this to 6.5 high. And I realize I'm doing it backwards, but that's because the 6.5 mark on this particular trimmer, which I actually really like, but this part irritates me, is not where there's a marking. So I'm doing it essentially backwards. Okay, so this piece would be 6.5. Okay, 6.5. You're going to cut this to 4 inches and 4 inches. So there's 3 of our pieces. This piece, I'm going to cut it to 6.5 again, and then 4, maybe 4. Okay. All right. So then, all of these, you're going to start with your 6.5 at the top, and you're going to score at 1/2 inch on every one of these pieces. Okay. So I'm only going to do a couple of them with you, and I'll go ahead and do the rest of them off camera. When I come back, we will do our initial matting, and then we'll put our waterfall in. Okay, so, excuse me. For my matting, for right now, we're just going to mat these main panels on the inside. So these are 4.5 by 9.5, okay? Depending on how much of a border you want, will kind of determine how you want to do your matting. So I'm going to do 4 3/8 by 9 3/8. Okay. So I think I'm going to start with this one. I need to get the branding strip off of that. Alright, so we're going to go 4 3/8. 9 3 right there. Okay. So there's 1. There's 2. I don't think I want to use that other one on this piece just yet. That's the one I was thinking of. Alright. The branding strip off of this one as well. You know what, that's going to be okay because okay. So now all I'm going to do here, I guess it's not really directional. I guess they kind of go every which way though, don't they? Okay. So I am going to go ahead, do my matting on this like so. Nope, I think I'll go that way. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and glue those down, and then we will talk about how we want to do our waterfall. Okay, so I've got my inside matted, other than, of course, my centerpieces, which, excuse me, I will do with scraps later on. And here's where we kind of need to make a decision. So our waterfall is, of course, going to run across, right? But do you want to open your little folio like this, or do you want to open it this way? If you want to go that way, which is what I think I'm going to do, then you can do your waterfalls going this way and this way. If you're going to do it just the traditional way with it just straight up and down, then of course you're just going to come down. Okay. So what I'm going to do is fold this much of it up. I'm actually going to turn it upside down because I am going to turn mine the other way. And I'm just going to go ahead and fold and burnish on 6 of my waterfall pieces. Okay. And since I'm going to have it open up lengthwise, I'm going to start over here on the bottom. And I'm just going to center this at the top. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to bring it down about 1/4 of an inch, so you're seeing just a little bit of that matting at the top. Okay. And we'll go to the next piece. And the next piece. I have found it helpful, for me anyway, to build my waterfalls upside down because I feel like I get them lined up better doing it this way. But it is, of course, personal preference. Okay, here's number 5. And then on the last one, rather than putting it down so that we have that little tab that's just kind of hanging out there, we're actually going to bend this back, and this one is going to go on top of the one before it. So when this is flipped over, you don't see that tab. Okay, like so. And there's our first waterfall. Okay, so for the next one, and if you wanted to add, oops, that clearly was not dry when I put that down. If you wanted to add any kind of closure on this to make sure it stays nice and flat, you could. Typically, I'm not going to do that with something like, with a project like this. What you can do is just come back with your bone folder and go right back over that crease once everything's in, and just push that down further. We got a little spots there, but that's okay. And that will help it also lay nice and flat. So I'm going to go the opposite direction this time. And again, this is just because of how I'm having my little folio open. So, and 2, we've got a little bit of a gap down here. If you wanted to center the whole thing up more, you absolutely could do that. Okay, and we're just going to repeat the exact same process we went through for the other one. And just continue on through like this. Okay, and then remember on this last one, we are going to put that flat on top of the prior tab, like so. Okay, and then I can just go back like I just did with the other one, just burnish that down a little more. And just continue. So this one will go the same direction as this one. This one will go the same direction as this one. Okay, I'm going to do the other 2 off camera, and when I come back, we'll talk about matting the outside, adding our ribbon, and then matting and decorating your actual little waterfall flats. Excuse me. Okay, so I'm ready to mat my outside before I do anything else on the inside. Okay, so I did go ahead and add my strips on the, excuse me, gussets. And since I am having it open this way, I'm going to do my ribbon closure to hold the whole thing closed so that the ribbon ties up on the top. Okay, so I'm going to use some ribbon out of my stash and some scissors, and what I'm going to do is just put a little piece of score tape Actually, I'm going to lay this whole thing out flat to do this. Okay. That way I can attach that with everything flat. So I've got my matting that's going to go here. I've got my matting that's going to go on all of those. And then for my interior, I'm using cherry petite prints in the candy stripe and sprinkles. Actually, I think I might do it that way. I haven't decided that part yet. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do my little gusset pieces here. And the matting for these, both inside and outside, for the smaller one is going to be 5/8 by 9 3/8. And then the middle is going to be 1 3/8 by 9 3/8. So this is the one that's going to hide our seam here from putting our cover together. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and do those two, and then we'll do our center ones where the ribbon is going to go underneath the matting last. So the matting here again is 4 3/8 by 9 3/8. And it's going to be easier for sure to go ahead and put this matting on before you start matting and decorating your waterfall, just because it's going to lay it a little bit flatter. You could absolutely do this before you put your waterfall in, but since I was undecided which way I was going to have my waterfall go, I didn't want to do that until I had made that decision. So, okay, so let's do this. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead, get the backing off of my tape. I'm going to attach one end of my ribbon. And then go ahead and put my matting down over the top. Okay. And then I'm going to fold this up. I'm going to kind of gauge about how long I need this to be. About right there. So then I can take this and use it to eyeball for the other side. And then flip this over. Get our backing off over here. And do the same thing again. Okay, so that will get tied up here. Then I can decorate the front and back. You can add a photo mat or journaling spots on your insides here, odds and ends, decorate it up however you want. You don't want to get too bulky on these two pieces because they do sit flush against each other. Did I manage to do that? Weird. because they do sit flush against each other in the middle there, so you don't want to get anything too bulky there. But we've left enough space here and here, so if you wanted to add a doodle pop on top of one of these, you absolutely could, because you're going to have space. So what I'm going to do to mat this is, I think I'm going to take my 6x6 pad for most of the matting. I will use some of the full size sheets for a little bit of it, but I think I'm mostly going to use the 6x6 pad and probably some of the 6x6 petite prints as well. But then what I'm going to do, and I'm only going to mat the front, I'm not going to mat the back, because, and I mean, you could if you want to. I'm leaving that blank in case I want to journal, in case I want to just add more pictures, whichever way I decide to go. And then what I'm going to do is, I've got all of my little pieces from the advent calendar sheet. If I can find where I just literally lost the second one I had. There it is. Okay. So all of these are what we're going to use on our corners. Okay. You can leave them hanging off if you want to. You've got enough space that you could leave them to function kind of as tabs. And on your ones that are going this way, you'll actually see that number if you do that. But I've got those cut and just grouped into the 6 I need for each of my 4 sections. But I'll go ahead and put those on there and then do whatever other embellishing and whatnot that I decide I want to do. So let me get the mats cut for one section and we'll do that together. And then I'll show you my idea for my front, because my intention is this will sit up like so and be kind of a decor piece along with being your memories for the month of December. Okay, so I thought I hit record. Apparently I didn't. So what I've done is I've matted these with a mix of the full size from the 12x12, excuse me, and from the 6x6. And then I've taken those numbers from the advent calendar cut apart sheet, and I've just let them hang off the edge of each one of my flaps, even with the flap below it, so that you're seeing that as you go through there. And then they aren't glued down completely, so that when you have your picture can slide underneath the edge of that. Okay. For this, I'll just end up adding a couple of photo mats and some odds and ends to decorate this, keeping it fairly flat. I can add some other things here if I wanted to add, you know, puffy icons, if I wanted to add a shaker, or I'm sorry, not a shaker, a doodle pop, you know, somewhere. If I knew I was going to put a 4x4 picture here, I could add a doodle pop here. Just however you want to do it. You've got some wiggle room to do a little tiny bit thicker embellishments in here, but keep in mind, once you get pictures, especially if you have pictures front and back, you might not want to do that. Here, you could put a pocket on each one of these if you wanted to, and add some journaling cards. There's so many different options you have here to finish this off. For the front, let me get some stuff ready and I'll show you how I'm going to finish off my front. Okay, so for the front, I'm going to take this little piece that's from that the cut apart sheet for the advent calendar, and I want to make this into a shaker. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut out my shutters, I'm going to cut out my window frame. But before I do that, because it's going to be easier to work with if I do it this way, I'm taking a metal edged ruler and I'm going to take, I want you to know I'm living dangerously. I just changed the blade in this and I have a really nasty habit of cutting my finger open every time I do that. I'm just going to go along the edge of this. Not far enough over. I gotta stand up to do this. I'll try to keep my head out of the way, so if it dips in there, I apologize. I am lining this up. And cutting just along the edge. To cut out those pieces, okay? And then this side. Okay. So basically, I'm going to cut out my windows. Did I not do one side of this? I didn't. Oh my gosh, seriously. This is one of those days, I'm telling you. Okay. There we go. All right, so you get the basic idea here. I still have sides to cut on all those. So I'm going to go ahead and cut those out, and then I'll come around and cut out my shutters and then the base piece for the window, and we'll get to building our shaker. Okay, so I've got that cut out. I didn't cut the window frame exactly, so like there's some kind of light gray lines. I didn't cut it exactly to that because I want enough space to do my foam tape. So I did leave a little bit of space on either side. I've got my shutters cut, and then I measured this, and this was a little over 3 1/8 by just a little bit over 4. So my acetate, which we can barely see because that's just how acetate is. I can't get the light to reflect on it, of course. Every other time it does, but this time, of course not. Is cut to 3 by 4 1/8. So I'm going to go ahead and just wipe this side off because there's something on it. What is on that? It's probably off my filthy glue covered fingers. In fact, I'm positive that's what it is. But I'm going to wipe that off with rubbing alcohol, because that will get pretty much anything off of it that happens to be on there. Okay. And then I am actually going to run this through my Xyron before I try and adhere that acetate to the back, because I want to make sure that my window panes all stick down. I could do it with glue, but then I'm going to have to wait for a while for this to dry. You can glue on acetate, but it does take some time to dry. So I'm going to go ahead and find my Xyron, which I literally just put away again, and run that through, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I've got my acetate on the back of that. I'm going to go ahead and go around this with my foam tape. This is 1/4 inch wide foam tape. Okay. Do 2 layers so that this stands up a little bit higher. Okay. Oops. Let's not throw it off the desk. Although sadly it wouldn't be the first time. Alright, so I've got my 2 layers there. Just going to double check. I'm seeing a tiny bit of it down here, but I can always put something on the outside, on the front, to kind of hide that. But overall, I think we're pretty good. And I realize, yes, I am doing this backwards from how I would typically do the foam tape. All right, so this tree is going to sit inside like so. I'm going to cut the trunk off the bottom because I want it to sit a little bit lower in the window. And then I'm actually going to take, well, maybe I am, I'm not sure where it went. Oh, it is. Like really thin foam tape. So this is like half the thickness of what I used on my shaker top. And I'm just going to put this on to give this a tiny bit of dimension inside the window. Okay. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my shaker fill. I'll be right back. Okay, so I've got some little polymer clay Santas, so I'm going to put some of them in here. And I'm going to tell you something I'm really bad at doing, but I'm going to tell you anyway. Don't overfill your shakers. I literally overfill 90% of the shakers I do, but I like them that way. Most of the time, every once in a while I get one that I'm like, oh yeah, I should have calmed down a little. Okay, we got some white sequins that are of course static clinging to everything because this is what happens. And then, and my fingers are sticky. I'm gonna do some of this little green mix as well. Okay, and yes, I realize we are doing our shaker upside down. Because of the shape of this one, it's not going to be a big deal. It's very easy to do them this way. Just be careful when you take your backing off that you do it slowly so that it does not jump up on you and have your shaker mix stick on your side of the foam tape that you don't want it to. Okay. Okay, There we go. There's our shaker. And that is going to go on my front. I am going to add some foam tape to those pieces to pop those up as well. And then just finishing decorating, and there you have it. There is the mini December daily, or as I like to call it, the cheater December daily, because there's not a whole lot you have to do. You don't have to do a lot of work to it, and you're still able to record all those excuse me, things you do during the month of December that you don't do any other time of year. As always, thank you for watching. I appreciate you guys stopping by. If you end up making this project, please share it with me, and tag me on Instagram or Facebook at Scrapping Under the Influence, and also tag Doodlebug, because this is a Doodlebug design team project. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.